President. Mr. President, I thank the Honourable Courtney Hughes for putting this matter of public importance on this, giving us this opportunity, and I want to thank the government for agreeing for this opportunity for us to speak on the government's policy to not award public sector employees increase in remuneration or other conditions of employment. What an atrocious way to say thank you, Mr. President, to the frontline workers of this state. Australia and New South Wales is on the cusp of a historic win against the coronavirus. Our gratitude must go to the Australian people for complying with physical distancing and hygiene. And just as importantly, Mr. President, thanks to our frontline public sector workers who put their lives online to keep us all safe. And what does the government do, Mr. President, in response? The government decides to slide 410,000 public sector workers with a wage freeze. And they argue it's not a wage cut. Well, it is a wage cut. 2.5% increase in salaries will be cut, and that is a wage cut, Mr. President. For the life of me, Mr. President, I cannot see what has come over this government and who is responsible for this decision. Rather than stimulate the economy by putting money into people's pockets to go out there into the shopping centres, the restaurants, the cafes, the local tourist destinations, and spend it, the government decides to cut their wages and make them poor and make the economy poorer. If you wish to cut wages, Mr. President, and I don't encourage any wage cuts, but if that was the ultimate decision, then you cut the salaries of the senior executives who are on high salaries already and are more likely, Mr. President, to save that money or cover some debts. This is, Mr. President, either an ideologically driven decision or that the government wants to plug the big fat hole it created in the billions of dollars it has wasted on the light rail and other wasteful projects. Rather than cut $3 billion in wages, why not scrap the shonky sale of Powerhouse Museum and use that money to help further invest in workers and in small business operators and encourage them to hire more of those who are now on the unemployment list? Rather than cut public sector salaries, why don't you, Mr. President, end the management, the incompetence and the waste that have been the hallmark of this government, major infrastructure projects such as the WestConnex, where billions of dollars was blown out, and so has on the light rail. And I concur with what the Honourable Courtney Hughes has just mentioned about the $4.3 billion blowout in the metro. These are incompetence of the government. Rather than make the people of New South Wales, the public sector workers, pay for their incompetence, they should be more careful and not to waste public money. Mr. President, you cannot cut your way to growth. If the New South Wales government slashes wages, it will make it harder for the economy to escape the current downturn. Just listen to Josh Frydenberg. He says that Australia is in a recession today for the first time since 1991. If you look globally, Mr. President, the circumstances is not too bright there either. The most powerful stimulus for the New South Wales government is its own workers. It's a New South Wales workforce that put their wages back into the economy and boost local trade. It makes no economic sense to take money from their pockets. It certainly, Mr. President, it certainly doesn't. Economics 101 will teach you the money you put into people's pockets, the more they get out there and spend. That's what stimulates the economy, not taking $3 billion out of their pockets. What we need now is an immediate injection of funds into the economy. You need to give the money to the workers who have earned it and help them spend it. And that's one way of helping to stimulate the economy. Most people won't know this, Mr. President, but a significant part of public work is outside of Sydney. 1 in 5 jobs in the far west are funded by the New South Wales government. In Central West and Mid-North Coast, 14% of jobs are New South Wales public service. Cut pay and you punish those regional economies. Mr. President, I thought the nationals that are here are about regional New South Wales. Well, what's happened here? Where are they? Where are they? Why didn't they stand up and speak for their constituency in regional New South Wales? Cutting public sector wages sends a powerful and dangerous signal That is, if it's good for the government to cut wages, then it is good for the private sector to follow suit. Taking $3 billion out of circulation will shrink the New South Wales economy at a time it can least afford it. Business is not going to snap back to how it was pre-pandemic, nor is the economy going to look the same post-crisis. The government must listen and do the right thing by the people of New South Wales.
The Honourable Mark Patterson.